Those arguments which got publicity in the national media on both sides, were on the whole fairly pathetic. I've agreed in conversation with my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Brexit, that he and I can both tell ourselves that neither of us used the dafter arguments being used by the people we were allied with. But there was not a very serious debate on the subject. I don't recall £350 million a week for the health service coming from the Secretary of State for Brexit. And I didn't say we were going to have a budget to put up income tax and all this kind of thing. It's all quite pathetic. But going back to what is the position, let me give an analogy, a loose one, but I think not totally loose, explaining the position of members of Parliament after this referendum. I have fought, Lord knows how many elections we've fought over the last 50 years, and I have always advocated voting Conservative. But the British public, in their wisdom, have occasionally failed to take my advice, and they have actually, by a majority, voted Labour. And I have found myself here facing a Labour government. I do not recall an occasion when I've been told it was now my democratic duty to support Labour policies and the Labour governments on the other side of the House. And I think that proposition put to the honourable member for Bolsover when he's been in opposition, or to myself, would have been treated with ridicule and scorn. Now, I apparently am now being told that despite having voted as I did in the referendum, somehow I am an enemy of the people, ignoring my instructions to stick to the opinions that I was expressing, at least in my meetings, rather strongly, urging them to vote the other way. And I have no intention of changing my opinion on the ground. Indeed, I personally am convinced that the hardcore Eurosceptics in my party, with whom I've enjoyed debating this for decades now, would not have felt bound in the slightest by the outcome of the referendum to abandon their arguments. Well, I don't say that as criticism. I actually am on good terms with the hardline Eurosceptics because I respect their sincerity and the passionate nature of their beliefs. But if I ever live to see the honourable member for Stone turn up here and vote in favour of Britain remaining in the European Union, well, I retract what I say, but a referendum, hot tongs would not make the honourable member for Stone vote for membership of the European Union. Finally, I must move on, but I'm told, Mr. Speaker, that of course I should vote with my party. It is a three-line whip, and I am a Conservative, decently loyal Conservative over the years. The last time I kicked over the traces was on the Lisbon Treaty, where my party suddenly, for some peculiar reason, got itself on the wrong side of the argument. But I'll pass that over. But what I would point out to those who say that somehow I am being disloyal to my party by not voting in favour of this bill, I am merely propounding the official policy of the Conservative Party for 50 years until the 23rd of June 2015. I admire my colleagues who can suddenly become enthusiastic Brexiteers, having seen a light on the road to Damascus on the day that the vote was cast on the 23rd of June. I'm afraid that light has been denied me. There are very serious issues which weren't addressed in the referendum. They've been touched on. They're the single market, the customs union. And that must be properly debated. It is absurd to say that every elector actually knew what the difference was between the customs union and the single market and have taken a careful and studied view on the basis of our future trade relations with Europe. So that it seems to me it is unarguable that if you put between us and the biggest free market in the world new tariffs new regulatory barriers, new customs procedures, certificates of origin and so on, you are bound to be weakening your economic position that it would otherwise have been, other things being equal, in future. That's why it's important that that issue is particularly addressed. Now, what I'm told is that's pessimistic. We're combining withdrawal from the single market and the customs union with this great new globalised future which offers tremendous opportunities for us. Apparently, you follow the rabbit down the hole and you emerge in a wonderland where suddenly countries throughout the world are queuing up to give us trading advantages and access to their markets that previously we've never been able to achieve as part of the European Union. Nice men like President Trump, President Erdogan are just impatient to abandon their normal protectionism and give us access. Don't let me be too cynical. I hope that's right. I do want the best outcome for the United Kingdom from this process. No doubt somewhere there's a hatter holding a tea party with a dormouse in the teapot. We need success in these trade negotiations to recoup at least some of the losses which we're going to incur from leaving the single market. And if all is lost on the main principle, that is the big principle this House must get control of and address seriously in proper debates and votes from now on.